Recently I was on a big large family holiday to Loch Lomond. As expected, it was exceptionally pretty. Because we were right next to a mountain and my family know my love of mountains, it was decided that we would climb Ben Lomond as a family activity, and all the eyes were on me to get the family up it. We're about to climb the mountain. How are you feeling, Jake?
Good.
Are you excited?
Yeah.
Let's go on with it. Jake? And also, unfortunately, a whole rabble of kids. This is going to be the most exhausting, easy mountain I've ever done. Now, I am not a qualified mountain leader, but I have climbed enough mountains in my years to know I could get it done. So how did I get 15 non-hikers up Scotland's most southerly Munro? Now, this is a family holiday and I don't want to just drag my family up the hill. I want them to enjoy it and turn non-hikers into hikers. I've got my little boy with me as well, who's desperately trying to earn his next patch. So how do you get 15 non-hikers up a very large mountain? Well, first of all, like every good trip, the first step is always planning. And planning for this includes weather and the route. Now, weather's quite easy, and I've mentioned in my day hiking video, which I'll link up here somewhere, that there's a bunch of apps for weather. But for mountains, there's another resource I'd like to share with you called MWIS, which is Mountain Weather Information Service. They have a YouTube page, they have a website. It gives you the weather not just for the bottom of the hill, but also for the top. And those two places can be extremely different. Whether the bottom of the hill might be nice and sunny and you might be hiking in just your base layers, but when you get to the top, you'll be in your full winter outfit because it's freezing. MWIS is an extremely good research, and I'll put a link to it below. Now, the route is also fairly easy. There's a bunch of books you can get a hold of. There's a catalogue of websites and apps as well, my favourite one being All Trails. But there's a website called Walk Highlands for Scotland. It's a website, and if you click on any of the mountains in the drop-down menus, you can see the most recent trip reports done by experienced hikers. All Trails does that too, and it's a bit more subscribed to, but I'll put a link to both Walk Highlands and All Trails down below. Now, if you're unsure of the ability of your group, I would also scale it right down. I knew Ben Lomond is an exceptionally beginner-oriented mountain. It is Scotland's secondly most climbed mountain. And because of my research, I knew Ben Lomond was a 4-hour mountain. So because it's a 4-hour mountain, I decided I was going to get there at the start of the day, which would give me 8 to 9 hours to climb it. I took all the emphasis off the rushing or any time constraints off the climb. We could take it easy, we could take it steady. We're the quarterway point. We keep stopping every 100 metres or so to collect the group. So I've got some over there. We've got a bunch of them here, but most of them are down there. After planning, the next thing really is, and it all boils down to motivation. You're going to have to keep your group motivated. Now, you want to establish a leader, but you also want to keep the vibe right. We don't want to be seen to be ordering people about or dragging them up it. And what I mean by that is, if you make a decision for the group, it's best to explain why you've made that decision so that people understand it. The more you explain it, the more people feel like they've bought into the decision themselves. Now, for our group, I started the day off before we even got to the mountain that it was in a very achievable mountain. And we could all do it, and if we stuck together we could definitely conquer this mountain. And that all came from the planning I did beforehand. Then when we actually got onto the trail, I waited till we got about 100 metres up the mountain, and then I gathered the group together. I gathered them together to tell them that we were all topping this mountain together. This was a group hike and no one was getting left behind. And if you were tired, we just tell somebody and we would stop the group together. That helps keep people's motivation high. They know they're not trying to slog it out themselves. You okay, Jake?
Yeah.
Good boy. Powering up that mountain, yeah? If you were tired, we would stop the group together and we wouldn't set off again until you or anybody else was ready to go. Taking every opportunity to sit down. If you're falling further and further behind the pack, your motivation is going to start eking out. So we've climbed about 20 minutes more, and it's now sunny. Scottish weather for you. You enjoying yourself?
Wow, now that it's sunny.
Now, keeping a group together can be difficult, and it was exceptionally difficult for me. There was 15 of us. Now, we had one leader at the front with all the kids who were racing ahead, and I had one leader at the back making sure that no one was getting left behind. With me at the front with all the kids making sure they were safe, I kept looking behind and making sure I could still see and we weren't too far away from my back leader. Now, these kids were exceptionally motivated and they were practically running up the hill. I had a bunch of kids at the front and I had a very slow but determined back section. But as I mentioned, I kept making frequent stops. Every 100 metres I would stop the front group, we would let the rear group catch up, and then we would have a break starting when the rear group caught up. We're halfway up.
Do you like the crisp? No.
Stop for some lunch. Got 1,000 kids here. And dogs who are staring at our dinner. What a view though. Now for me, information is the king of motivation. And on this particular hike, the app OS Locate gives you a fairly accurate height reading. Now I use this again to chalk off my 100 metre breaks, but also when everybody asked, are we nearly there yet? I could tell them exactly where we were. There was no like, oh, I think it's just around the next corner. No, I knew exactly where we are on the mountain. Surprisingly motivating knowing you're a quarter, you're half, you're 3/4 way up the mountain. Also, when you know you're stopping every 100 metres and you know that you're at 74 metres, now the next ridge is the break. It's amazing how quickly that slog. No, I can now make that ridge. We just need to power on, knowing there's going to be a break there. So we've crossed the 800 metre mark and Jake is powering up these mountains.
I haven't even had a curry.
No, he hasn't had a curry. And he's very proud of that fact too. Wow. Jake, look at that. Now I've spoke to everybody in the family after the hike and they all said that extremely regular breaks really helped them, especially when we got to the halfway point and we sat and had dinner at the halfway point. As you're sitting there eating and talking with the rest, that you knew that, listen, that's half done now, we're halfway there. So these regular scheduled breaks, don't overestimate them, use them as a weapon. We're really close to the top now, maybe about 50 metres away. But because it's been started as a group, we've got mixed abilities here, we're determined to finish together. We've got a couple of people in the group who've never climbed mountains before, and I'm looking at one of them right now, and like I said, we're 50 metres from the top, so we're doing really well. And my most important tip, bring extra snacks. Snacks and calories are the most motivating thing you can bring on a trip. Bring extra to cover the entire group. I personally have gone on solo hikes and got about a quarter of the way up a mountain and felt like garbage. My mood dips and I start questioning why I'm doing this at all. Quick breakfast bar or some sugar down my throat. 10 minutes later, max 5 minutes later, and I'm back running up that hill, loving it again, and I start questioning why I would ever not do this. Calories are the biggest motivation you can get. Now if you've got a Winju in your group, I guarantee if you throw them a few sweets, a bit of sugar, some carbs, their mood will pick up very quickly.
I had a photo of even cheap for about...
And that's it. I've literally interviewed these people and they said that's what helped them. If this was at all helpful, or if you have other suggestions that would help everybody else, put them in the comments below. So we're all the top. Mission accomplished. Well, half the mission. The other half is to getting back down now. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, guys. Cheers, guys. Goodbye.